where do our listeners go from there? So if they do like being on camera or they do like writing, let's take on camera for you. Where did you then take that and in an aspect that you began to see fruits of your labor of marketing with that?
First, we need to understand that nobody cares about real estate photography except for us. So what we do is not amazing, but it is to us. But the average person out there doesn't care. So you have to figure out ways, okay, how can you make people start to care? And that's why we introduced those giveaways with the local businesses. So we were getting the local businesses involved, the realtor themselves, their brokerage, and myself, and everybody is sharing these videos. So I'm getting, thousands of views on these videos in my small town of 60,000 people. Realtors are going to start taking notice, especially when they see their peers being interviewed by this guy. So the other thing to consider is that before that, nobody really knew who the person was running this photography business. Like they see Minnesota Home Tours or Mankato Home Tours, but they don't know who the person is. They don't understand that there's a person running that. So they get to see me, my personality, my body language, me interacting with people, me like getting them to laugh, them being comfortable around me, them smiling at me. I'm psychologically, I'm coaching everybody that, hey, I am a very friendly person. I am somebody that people like being around. I am somebody that people like talking to. I understand your business. I am interested in your business. So I'm putting out all these cues by putting out these videos. Eventually that evolved into where I was actually going on location with agents, and we were walking through an actual house, and we were doing a house tour, and I interviewed them about the house, and it just turned into this thing. And again, my business doubled from there. I got picked up a brokerage deal where I was doing all the photos for every agent in the brokerage. I was able to bring on another photographer, and yeah, the rest is history. So that's probably one of my more significant marketing things that I did.
Welcome to the Spiro Podcast, managing your real estate photography and videography business. With your hosts, Todd Kivimaki and Craig Magrum.
Welcome to the Spiro Podcast, managing your real estate photography and videography business. Spiro is a software platform designed to help you grow and manage your real estate photography and videography business, handling everything from online custom order portals for your realtors to upselling during the ordering process to make people aware of all the products and services that you offer beyond photography and videography. And then finally, also custom delivery pages and custom marketing tiles for use on social media and other outlets to really help build your realtor's brand. I'm Craig Magrum. I'm the business development and client care specialist for Spiro and host of the Spiro Podcast. And with me, founder and owner of Spiro and Wow Video Tours, Todd Kivimaki.
Hey, good morning, Craig. It's good to be here today. I'm excited about this podcast. We have a guest today. For those of you that are joining us for the first time, thank you for listening in your busy days. For those of you that have come back, we appreciate your graciousness. We're going to have some great nuggets in the podcast today. If you all could help us out and hit the subscribe button, click that there and be a subscriber. That helps us out. Also, you will be notified of new podcasts when we launch them. Finally, we want this to be your podcast, and we are always looking for how to make this valuable for you. Email us your thoughts, ideas, questions, hello@spiro.media, and we would love to make this your podcast.
Yeah, so the whole idea of this podcast is to look at the business side of what we do. There's a lot of great resources out there on the creative, how to compose shots, how to shoot video for real estate. Just so many awesome resources and influencers out there on YouTube and beyond. So the real focus of Spiro, the Spiro Podcast, is to talk about the business side of what we do in real estate photography and videography. There's so many great resources out there on YouTube and other channels that talk about the creative side of what we do, how to compose photos for real estate, how to shoot video tours for real estate. And that's all great stuff, but the business side can be something that we struggle with from time to time. You know, how to run your accounting, which we're going to be doing a podcast on that in a couple of weeks. But we just really value learning from others. And that's why we have guests on the podcast, because we've learned a lot over the years in what we do at Wow Video Tours, but we know there's other great companies and thought leaders in this space that we can really benefit from and kind of, latch on to the experience that they've had. And so back at the beginning of this year, Todd, when we were starting to look for beta testers for the Spiro software, one of the questions that we asked in the application process is, what's the one area that you really want to grow your business in the most? And by far, the majority of the answers talked about, how do I get more clients and how do I market my business well? So our guest this week is a real specialist in that, and that guest's name is Jordan Powers. Jordan, thanks so much for joining us this week.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm glad to talk to you guys.
Jordan, you are an incredibly talented photographer and videographer, but I also know you have a passion for teaching and marketing as well. So, but just to start off, can you let our viewers know a little bit about you, maybe a quick story about how you got into it, what drew you into real estate and architectural media?
Yeah, so I started doing photography back in 2005 in Toledo, where I'm from. So pretty close to you guys. But I met my wife 2007, started doing weddings and portraits like everybody else. 2009, we moved to Minnesota, and we were looking for a house, and it was around 2011. All the photos looked horrible, and I didn't really know real estate photography was a thing at the time. So I remember exactly where we were at. We were driving along this side street with our realtor. I'm like getting frustrated with the process because we're trying to find homes online. All the photos look horrible, and I'm telling him, how do you even find homes? Like, how do you get anybody to be interested in going to look at homes? They look horrible. And I was like, would you ever consider using a professional photographer for your listings? And I didn't know real estate photography was even a thing. So he said, sure. And that was 2011. We did his first listing for free and just to try it out, and fell in love with it immediately and been doing it ever since.
That's awesome. So you've also gotten into architectural photography. So how did you make that jump from residential to architectural?
Well, I want to say first, I think that there's a misconception, not a misconception, but there's in the space that we're in, architectural photography seems like a graduation from real estate photography, but it's really not. They're like very closely related. They have essentially the same fundamentals. It's just the client's different, and the client's expectations are different. So for me, what happened was there was some local builders in the area and custom home builders, and they started seeing my work, and they were hiring me to shoot their stuff. And then I discovered eventually, I was like, I really love doing architectural photography. It's more calculated, it's more technical. You get to spend more time, you slow down. There is more money, but there's a lot of work that goes to get that money. So it's different, but it's very similar. All the fundamentals are more or less the same. And then from there, I started getting some commercial work from time to time, and then COVID hit. And when COVID hit, everything stopped. Real estate stopped for about 2 weeks here, or in Minnesota rather, where I was at. And I took that time and I went around and I photographed all the cool looking commercial buildings in town, and I built a commercial architectural photography portfolio. And then my commercial architectural photography career started right then.
Interesting. Hey, what a cool story. One thing that you said, Jordan, that we believe in so strongly, and I do, is expectations. And I think that's just one thing that we felt some pain over the years, as we were expecting we thought one thing, our clients expected another. And, those expectations are so important. And I think that's a great way to really explain it. It's just the expectations of what those two clients, what they are needing for the final product. And they both are used differently. And then, Jordan, it seems like as you progressed through the timeline that you just gave us, where did this desire to teach come into, and some of the things that you're doing that we can discuss a little bit later on, and people can find out where they can find you at. But have you always been a natural teacher, or where did that come from?
I went through corporate America, and that's the reason I ended up in Minnesota in the first place with my wife. I was working for corporate. I'm not going to talk about the company, but I was working as a supervisor for a large corporation. We relocated to Minnesota, and a big part of this company has one of the largest and most popular and award-winning internal training programs in the country. And also, so as a trainer, or not a trainer, but somebody who went through a lot of training, but also I manage a team of up to 15 people at a time, where I'm constantly having to give feedback, constantly having to coach, constantly having to show them different and better ways to look at things and do things and interact with people. I basically was just trained up in this, but I also think I also have always had some kind of natural intuition about just interacting with people in general and just the psychology of how we work. So just a lot of mindset related things. I was always very interested in psychology and things of that nature. And education just kind of, I think the desire to teach and guide people came through, I'm pretty sure it came through that training in corporate America that I was like ingrained with for about 10 years, 10 to 12 years or so.
Yeah. So one of the topics I was researching, Jordan, and this is how I ran across you on YouTube, was talking about copyright issues, that we all deal with real estate photography. And as I reached out, we started talking, and you shared that you have a real passion for outside the box thinking on marketing and how to market our real estate businesses. And Todd and I, we've done a couple of podcasts in the last few weeks that talk a little bit about that. And I think we mentioned this earlier in the episode, that one of the questions that we'd asked our beta testers is what area do you need the most help with in terms of growing your business? And by far it was, I need more clients and I need better ways to market myself, or need ideas on how to market myself. So we've talked about probably two of the most popular ways, and that's getting in front of a broker and really talking to entire brokerages and talking to offices, and then of course just networking realtor to realtor. So the question we really want to kind of dive into is, as we get to know you here and talk, ask this question in this episode, is what are some other ways that we as real estate photographers and videographers can market our companies and set ourselves apart from others in the space, in our market, to make those connections with potential clients. And I know that's something you're passionate about.
Yeah, I'm absolutely passionate about it. I think it's fascinating. So I think first and foremost, before you even decide what types of things, or you start diving in and trying to figure out ways to market your business, you have to do like a self-awareness analysis. You really have to know what you are uniquely good at. If you're not good at being on camera, you're not going to want to do video content of yourself. Right. If you're socially awkward, you're probably going to want to maybe consider not doing in-person marketing. If you are really good at writing, you want to utilize writing. If you're, so identify what your talents are, what you're uniquely good at, and start there, right? Yeah. So for me, I'm fairly good on camera. I've learned if you can research me, you can find the first YouTube video I ever put out there. It was in probably 2012, 2011. And I was horrible. I was really nervous on camera, and I was trying to I was doing an architectural shoot inside of a yoga studio, a really cool studio, and I was like shaking. I was like all nervous, but it's funny. But just over time, I've developed a comfort level. So I was like, okay, video is definitely something I'm good at. I'm decent with audio. I've done my own podcast. I'm decent with. I'm not very good with writing. And as far as meeting people in person, it's very hard for me to like go up and just start talking to people. There has to be some kind of icebreaker, or there has to be some kind of reason for me to just start talking with somebody. So knowing all these things, being self-aware, I can take all those different things and say, okay, based on my particular things, what could I do? What are some options? So I think that's just where you start.
Yeah. I've never really thought about starting from your strengths. There's so much teaching out there on, best practices. So, that's one of the business buzzwords I've heard for years is best practices. And you should do this to make your company succeed or experience growth. But just finding your natural talents and God-given abilities, and develop relationships with clients that way. Yeah, it makes sense, Jordan.
Well, and I think from there, once you have that self-awareness, then the next step is to identify what your actual, regardless of what industry you're in, you have to identify what your clients' needs are. So we are real estate photographers, or nowadays we're real estate media companies, but let's just say we're real estate photographers to keep it simple. Okay, obviously our clients need photography, right? But they can go take photos themselves, or they can hire a generalist photographer, right? Who will do their listing photos for $75, and they'll give them like 100 photos. They can do that, and a lot of them do. I mean, I'm sure you guys experience this as well. There's with the entire bucket of realtors out there, there's probably just a very small percentage that actually use your services, and that's all you really need. So you have to ask yourself, okay, what do they need aside from just photography? What realtors need in particular is timeliness. They need an extra brain, an extra set of eyes. Like, timeliness is huge for them. The faster you can get them their photos, the more valuable you are. The other thing they need help with their guidance on social media, because social media is how they are going to generate their business these days. They're not going to do it through print ads. They're not going to, I mean, they might, but you have to be available and know how to help them through some of those problems that they're facing in this world.
So I was going to ask, so Jordan, if you realized that you had a talent and you enjoyed being on camera, everyone has to get over the fact that the first few times they're terrible. I did a presentation at the state convention, and one of my agents was there, and she sent me myself speaking, and I went, I was like mortified. And then I didn't know someone in a presentation in an hour could say 1 million times. I think Guinness owes me a record. But once you get over that, so you realize that you had a draw and you appreciated this, and you could see something come from it. So where do our listeners go from there? So if they do like being on camera, or they do like writing, let's take on camera for you. Where did you then take that and in an aspect that you began to see fruits of your labor of marketing with that?
This is one of my favorite things to talk about, because as soon as I start talking about it, people are like, oh, like they weren't expecting it to go that direction. So this was probably 2016, 2017. So there wasn't a whole lot going on there in terms of like the real estate media thing. People weren't really talking about that. Video was still a thing people were doing. Virtual tours weren't really, I mean, there was Matterport, but we didn't have all the real estate media thing, and it was still mostly about photography. So one of the things that I did was it was probably 2016, 2017. I was doing okay. I was getting plenty of business, but I obviously wanted more. I wanted to grow this thing. I had my self-awareness. I knew what I was decent at, being on video, talking with people. So I was like, maybe I could do some kind of show. Oh, and Gary Vaynerchuk was becoming really popular at this time.
Yeah,
so
he's
I
awesome.
was kind of paying attention. I was paying attention to a lot of things he was saying. And I was like, I'm going to start making some kind of like show, something. So long story short, what I ended up doing was in Facebook business pages were still very, noteworthy at the time. Like, it was still worth putting effort into those. So what I decided to do was I decided to put out a weekly show. My business in Minnesota was called Minnesota Home Tours. And at the time, it was called Mankato Home Tours at the time. And I called the show Mankato Home Tours. And the whole concept was every week I would bring on one of my clients on the show on camera, and I would interview them for 5 to 10 minutes. And what we would do is we would also partner with a local business who wanted to do a giveaway of some sort. And in the middle of that episode, we would announce the giveaway, and all they have to do was comment below and share or whatever. So, and I did probably 15 of these episodes. And after doing that, my business doubled. And the reason is because before that, people, I mean, they made, so first we need to understand that nobody cares about real estate photography except for us. So what we do is not amazing, but it is to us. But the average person out there doesn't care. So you have to figure out ways, okay, how can you make people start to care? And that's why we introduced those giveaways with the local businesses. So we were getting the local businesses involved, the realtor themselves, their brokerage, and myself, and everybody is sharing these videos. So I'm getting, thousands of views on these videos in my small town of 60,000 people. Realtors are going to start taking notice, especially when they see their peers being interviewed by this guy. So the other thing to consider is that before that, nobody really knew who the person was running this photography business. Like, they see Minnesota home tours or Mankato home tours, but they don't know who the person is. They don't understand that there's a person running that. So they get to see me, my personality, my body language, me interacting with people, me like getting them to laugh, them being comfortable around me, them smiling at me. I'm psychologically, I'm coaching everybody that, hey, I am a very friendly person. I am somebody that people like being around. I am somebody that people like talking to. I understand your business. I'm interested in your business. So I'm putting out all these cues by putting out these videos. Eventually that evolved into where I was actually going on location with agents, and we were walking through an actual house, and we were doing a house tour, and I interviewed them about the house, and it just turned into this thing. And again, my business doubled from there. I got picked up a brokerage deal where I was doing all the photos for every agent in the brokerage. I was able to bring on another photographer, and yeah, the rest is history. So that's probably one of my more significant marketing things that I did.
Something you said, Jordan, was letting your personality come through on these videos and giving those social cues that, hey, I'm good to be around. I care about your business. That ties directly into a concept that we talked about just a couple of weeks ago. People, it's a common sales fact. People buy from people they know, like, and trust. If you're doing good work, you're showing up on time, like you talked about earlier, you're delivering a good product and good service, that marketing just kind of naturally happens, and you're there to serve them. You're there to increase their business, to build their brand. And if you work consistently at that, you really the marketing kind of takes care of itself. It just goes back to those human relationships. And like you said, the psychology of what we're doing is we work and serve one another out in the marketplace. So yeah, I mean, outside the box marketing doesn't actually take a whole lot of effort. It just be creative and be yourself. Great insight on that.
And if you don't have, and if you're somebody who struggles with coming up with creative ideas like that, you can go back to the traditional ideas, but you just have to, before you do it, you have to do that self-awareness analysis, but you also have to have a plan. So right. Yes, you can go and do brokerage meetings, and you can go to realtors' offices and do presentations, but you can't leave it at that. You have to go into it with a plan, a follow-up plan. So, just imagine you have an appointment next Friday with the biggest brokerage in town. What's your plan? You're going to go in there, you're going to do a listing presentation. You might bring some donuts or something, and then hope that people call you. It's important to have some kind of something that is a hook to get to, like, or something to not force them, but to get them to follow up with you. One idea for something like that is, and I'm not sure if you guys have this capability with Spiro software, but have some kind of like event or something that people have to schedule, like while they're So bring an iPad with you and have something where they can sign up for something, whether it's like a headshot session or a free listing. But during the presentation, halfway through the presentation, after you've talked with them a while, start passing the iPad around. They can fill in their information and set up an appointment to do a free courtesy headshot or lifestyle type photo session with you, or one that's half off or something. But basically do something that gets them to take action while you're actually there with them, talking with them. Or the other thing you can do is, if you're savvy with Facebook ads, which everybody should be if you're not, have something on your website, make a secret page on your website for just that particular brokerage meeting, and say, hey, I made a special page for you all. Do me a favor, scan this QR code that you just popped up on the TV. And everybody that goes there is going to pick up a Facebook pixel if you have your Facebook pixel installed on the site, and then you can start making ads to them. My point is everything you do, you have to be very intentional with it.
Right.
And there's different things you can do depending on your level of self-awareness and your savviness with all the technology that we have available to us.
Right.
Yeah, I love that idea. I just want to clarify, because there was a good nugget. There was many nuggets in there, but so you said that if you're going to a listing presentation in front of a brokerage, to create a special page for them on your website, make sure that your Facebook pixel, make sure that all the info, the tracking code, everything's on there, it's set up, and then you're saying direct those individuals to that page. And because that page is not outwardly easily found unless you have the URL, then you're going to know who visits that page. Is that correct?
Correct.
That's interesting. So then you would then how would you direct your ad campaign knowing that those visitors were from that brokerage?
Okay, so here's a free ad campaign for everybody. So you have a listing presentation next week. You have a week to get this ready. So first thing you do is pick 2 days that you can set aside just for headshots or just for like lifestyle photos. Go to a local park or something. And then what you do is you create a separate page on your website with some kind of link to Acuity or some kind of scheduling software, or something to that effect, or at the very least just a form where they can enter their email address or contact information. Just basically something to get them to sign up and give you permission to email them in the future. What you do is you create that site on your webpage. It doesn't have to be up in your menu, but you have it as like just I don't know what you call it, but a unlinked page on your website. Whether you're using Squarespace, Wix, or WordPress, you can do this. And if your Facebook pixel is installed anywhere on your website, if somebody visits that page, they will pick up that Facebook pixel. Now, the Facebook pixel is basically a code that Facebook uses, and that's how you see ads for everybody listening. That's how you see ads for everything wherever you go, because you picked up a pixel for a certain product or a company that does marketing for certain products. So what happens is you're at the listing presentation. You say, "Hey, everybody, thanks so much for listening to me today. As a thank you, I want to offer everybody a free portrait session. All you have to do is visit this QR code that you've got popped up on the screen. The minute they visit that site, they've picked up the pixel. And if they're interested, they can sign up for one of the time slots that you have on that page. And now you've got their email address. So you've got 2 means of contacting them. Now, for those who are Facebook pixel savvy, you can go into Facebook Ad Manager. You can create an ad for people who visited that particular URL. Okay. Or you can also create anybody who picked up a pixel within a certain time frame as well. So you can create an ad campaign saying, "Hey, reminder about your free headshot." But you can also just start putting other ads out there, like anything you can be creative. If anybody has not seen Eli Jones and his real estate photography pro course, you're obviously not on the internet at all. But that guy creates ads. Pay attention to the ads that he's creating. Yes, he's marketing to real estate photographers or other potential photographers, but you can use the same things that he's doing for realtors. Just pay attention to what he's making for ads. Look at also Parker Walbeck and different people on the internet. Just pay attention to see what people are doing for ads, and especially ads that you see repeating all the time, and just replicate those, but do it for your real estate photography business. Show yourself doing behind the scenes things. Show yourself using Spiro software and how convenient it is for your clients to use that. Do quick interviews, behind the scenes stuff. You can create ads off of those things. And then you can create retargeted ads off of those. Anyway, Facebook ads are a whole separate beast. But then, like I also said, you've got their email address. So you can start sending them out an email campaign. My good friend Adam Taylor has an email template thing that he offers. It's 52 email templates. You can send out an email every single week. And his is more designed for architecture photography, but all you have to do is just change some of the words for real estate photography. But he sends out an email once a week. And it's just a rotating list, and everybody, like, he's got a MailChimp account set up, and he's got a campaign that starts the minute somebody signs up. It starts with the first email template, and it just rotates every year. So anyway, I know I just threw a lot out there, but hopefully they got some gears moving and give some people some ideas of some of the things you can do.
Yeah, that's such value. I know it gets me excited just hearing about that, Jordan. What incredible ideas and just savvy ways to use these tools that are out there. Jordan, can you let our listeners know how they? I know you have some teaching things, or you have some things in works and some resources. How can our listeners find you, find out about more just gold nuggets that are in your brain, and just connect with you? Can you let us know where to find you at and how to get a hold of you?
Yeah, I think just my website, jordanpowersphotography.com, there's an education section where I've got like workshops, YouTube, link to my YouTube channel. I've got something called the Open Book Club, which is it's basically a paid mastermind group, but I've got a podcast that I put out. I've got mastermind calls. I've got one-on-one coachings, and also just behind the scenes video. One of the things that I'm doing right now is I'm setting up a brand new real estate photography business in North Carolina. And I'm putting out, I put out a video series. There's 8 videos so far that shows me starting a business from scratch. So doing my market research, setting up the website, picking out a name for the business, getting that all set up, getting a logo designed, just some of the marketing things that I've been doing. So I'm kind of documenting that process as I build it. So like I said, there's about 8 videos in that series, but I think that's probably the best place to go. Just jordanpowersphotography.com. You'll see an education tab.
Yeah, and we'll make sure we put that link in the show notes here as well. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on the audio podcast, yeah. Well, what was that address again? The website?
Just Jordan Powers Photography, or you can just find me on Instagram at Jordan Powers without the vowels.
Okay, perfect. Jordan, any final thoughts just about education or just creative ideas for photographers to kind of latch onto as they're trying to grow their business?
There's so many educational resources that other photographers are putting out. Like I said, Eli Jones, there's things on YouTube, Rich Baum, Nathan Cool. Like there's so many people putting resources out there. Don't just stick to YouTube. There's a lot you can learn through YouTube, but I would highly suggest getting involved in like a mastermind group or a course of some sort. Just constantly be educating yourself. Invest the money in doing that. Don't take shortcuts, and just constantly be trying to figure out new ways of doing things within your business. And don't be afraid to experiment. The worst thing people are ever going to say is no, or that you didn't work. That's the worst thing that's ever going to happen. You're not going to hurt your business by trying new things.
Innovate.
Yeah. Great advice, Jordan. If please be sure to check out jordanpowersphotography.com, or as he said, you can find him on Instagram. It's just Jordan Powers Photo. Is that without the vowels?
On Instagram, just Jordan Powers, no vowels. JRDNPWRS.
Okay, Jordan Powers. So take the vowels out on Instagram. But if you do a quick search, you'll find him. I mean, you can just search him on Google as well. But please do search. He's got a beautiful website. He's got some great things in the education tab. And be sure to connect with him and take advantage of some of these opportunities that he's putting out there.
Absolutely. Jordan, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule. We know you're a busy guy, but we really appreciate you coming on the podcast here.
Sure thing. Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for another week. Don't forget that you can catch the Spiro podcast both on YouTube, and leave comments, please. If you've got some thoughts, some feedback you want to give, or creative ideas that you've implemented in your business, we'd love to hear those. So leave those down in the comments. But you can also catch the audio podcast. You can go to spiromedia.podbean.com. You can catch it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, just all the regular outlets for audio podcasts. And we just want to thank you for taking a couple of minutes here out of your week as maybe you're driving in between appointments to listen or to watch while you're in the office. We just really appreciate those of you that to watch, listen, and share this podcast with friends and colleagues in the industry as well. If you have a business-related question about the industry that we work in, real estate, photography, and videography, you can always reach us at hello@spiro.media, or you can reach me, Craig, at spiro.media, and I'd love to talk with you about the Spiro software platform as well. So until next week, count your blessings, be thankful for what you've been blessed with, and take a breath. Have a great week.
Thank you for joining us for the Spiro Podcast, Managing Your Real Estate Photography and Videography Business. This is a production of Spiro and Wow Video Tours. You can find out more about Spiro's real estate media business management software at our website, spiro.media.